let's talk about lesson planning. So if you are one of the tutors that uses our great sites and all their resources, our great host sites, all the organizations that you work with, and now they're closed and you don't know what to do, I am going to share some ideas on what you could do at a distance. I want to emphasize that these lessons should be short, uh, 15 to 30 minutes at the most. I think that after that, it gets a little too overwhelming. Remember that our participants are home, probably with their kids, probably with other family members that need help. They're staring at a pile of laundry. They have a lot going on. So, really, these tutoring sessions are acting more as check ins, and then it's a way for you to continue to build community. We're not working on really hard stuff unless they're alone and really want some structure. But if you have, follow their lead, whatever they want. But I recommend keeping it shorter and I recommend keeping it lighter. We're going to talk about math, but we're going to talk about math ideas for ABE, but staying away from budgets right now, money, job stuff. A lot of people are unemployed. A lot of people are really being affected by shutting the shutdown in Chicago. So just keeping it light, casual, thinking this more of a community building activity more than like a hard tutoring situation. We just want to make sure that our students feel like they're still a part of our community, because they are, and even though we're separated, that's just what we're just using these as a way to do that. So I'll be talking about ESL and ABE in this video. If you are tutoring someone in citizenship, please see my citizenship video. It's specifically about activities that you can do on a variety of formats. So I talk about phone, text, email, and then video chat and online resources. So that is for citizenship. And here we're going to talk about ESL in different levels and ABE in different levels. All right, let's get started. One thing I wanted to mention about tutoring from a distance, I already mentioned that they should be shorter. Something that I learned as a teacher, and my classes were long, they were like 2 hours long, so I had more time. But one of the things you can focus on in your tutoring session is following a routine. It's good for people to know what they're going to expect. It can be nerve-wracking to go into a tutoring situation where you're not sure if you studied enough or if you have the right information. So just making a plan with your student to have the same plan every time you meet. So for example, if you're meeting with your ESL student, you can start by how are you doing? How are you feeling? Practicing those conversational things. Talk about the daily routine. What did you do yesterday? Did you have a writing assignment? Kind of go over the writing assignment that way together, and then focus on what will you be doing next. Pick whatever routine it could be. It could be talking about what food you ate yesterday and practicing food vocabulary, but just finding a structure that is similar every time. And maybe that's how you already did your lessons and you're ready, but maybe it wasn't. Maybe you're kind of a spur of the moment. Let's see what we can talk about. And that is awesome. But I think just focusing on keeping things regularly planned, something we know what to expect. It's not supposed to be stressful. It's just supposed to be a good time to get together. It's also shouldn't be stressful for you. So if you are really struggling with ideas and are very overwhelmed by the idea that you have to come up with these lessons, watch this video, of course, but also reach out to me. I can support you in that, and I have ideas on what to do. I have a lot of friends that are in the Peace Corps, and a lot of the Peace Corps is just, here's a class, go figure it out. There are no materials, and I didn't give you any time to prep. So a lot of people in our field know how to do this stuff because we have to. And a lot of adult education is fly by the seat of your pants. There's no money, so figure it out. So we have a lot of that background experience. So please let us know if you need help coming up with something on the fly. Yeah, but remember, keeping a regular routine, structuring it, keeping it under 30 minutes, and focusing on being student-centered. What does your student want to talk about? What do they want to learn? Do they want to talk about the virus and how it's spreading? Talk about it unless it makes you feel uncomfortable. What do they want to talk about? Follow their lead, and don't push anything necessarily complicated or stressful unless they're really asking to talk about it. Remember, this is just more connecting, and then we'll be able to go back to normal and focus on whatever goals they had. And now we're adapting. Yeah. Let's start with ESL. So a lot of this we can focus on a lot of things that we're doing in our house now. We might not have access to, there are a ton of online resources which I recommend. I will show you how to get to them at the end of this video on our website with ESL activities and online stuff. But if we are focusing on, if our student isn't able to access those things, we need some other options. So that's what we're going to do now. One of the things that we could do is just focus on what we're doing. So for all levels of ESL, creating a daily routine would be a great way to practice our English. So we need to keep routines anyway. It's something that we need to do to keep it together during this time at home. So that could be something we could bank on. So for lower level ESL, we could be focusing on the structure. On Mondays, I do this, practicing present perfect and talking about routines and things like that. For intermediate and advanced, it could be a little bit, we can just be adding on to that structure, focusing on next week I will do, yesterday I did, and things like that, talking about the structure. In the mornings, I do this. Tomorrow morning, I will, focusing on those things, just focusing on the structure. So this can be done over the phone. You can just have a conversation about it. It can be obviously done through text, and you can do sentence correction. If we're working on email, it can be a list of things that you do and just write complete sentences. For lower level, it could just be a list of vocabulary words, maybe verbs, wash hands, eat breakfast, feed the dog, those kinds of things. Those can just be lists. You can also, there are plenty of, if you have access, a way to get them documents, you can create a chart. So then we can practice creating a chart of and dividing up our time, and things like that. So that's a way that we could focus on daily routine. And again, I want to emphasize that these videos should be, these tutoring sessions should be short, 30 minutes at the most, I think. I think anything longer is going to be too difficult. Whether you're sitting in front of the computer or talking on the phone, it's really long time to talk to someone for 2 hours when you're at home. So keep them short. So focusing on those things. So daily routine. We can also talk about vocabulary. Every day you can focus on a different room in the house. And for those that are working with video chat, you can walk around the house and point to things. This is a weird room that I'm in, but like water bottle, tea, cup, telephone. Obviously, you can talk about objects that you see in the room. For lower level, and if you don't have video chat, this can also be done with picture messaging. You can take pictures. A good idea for lower level is to focus on words that they don't know, so they can take a picture of something they don't know in English, and you can take a picture of this and send it to you, and you can record yourself saying scissors, and they can practice. You can spell it. There's lots of ways that you can focus on those things. So most people have access to pictures at least and text messaging. So again, if you see the WhatsApp video about how to use WhatsApp, that's a really great option. You can do that with pictures. And so then you can focus on vocabulary throughout the house. You can help them. They can work on creating cards if they like, to kind of stamp on things to practice their English that way. Then you can focus on activities that they're doing. So like vocabulary around laundry, around the bathroom, around the living room, around TV. For more advanced ESL students and intermediate, depending on their level, and depending on your ability to work with them, I think independent work is going to be a pretty crucial aspect of tutoring at a distance. So creating a way for them to have a daily diary or a weekly wrap-up of the week and what they did. And then that's like a writing assignment that they're able to It adds to their routine. It helps them practice their English writing. And then you're able to, when you meet, go over it together. So either you could practice them reading it out loud and they can read it to you, or they could send it to you and you can make corrections together, and work on that writing skill and talking about that. For really advanced ESL students that are working on a specific task, it might be nice to read a book together. So there are lots of books that are available through the library in ebooks. There's also lots of short stories that um, you can access online, and it might be nice to read that separately and have a discussion together to like discuss, to even get away from things like specifics about grammar or things like that, but just kind of discussing English, and they can work on their conversation and they can talk about a book that you both read together. um, Again, if audio or phone or video is not an option and we're only doing texting, this is still okay because you can still do the independent work, and then you can text questions back and forth and just have a conversation through text. And I think that's fine. If they do have access to email, it might be nice to have them write a summary of the chapter or have them write some questions that they've had or the feelings that they had. And again, it's similar to a diary entry, just a way for them to continue writing in English and keeping track of their day, just kind of building it in. One of the things, yeah, that I emphasize is that these should be shorter sessions, and I think just emphasizing community building will be important, rather than really focusing on hard structures and getting things right and test scores and all that. We're not really focusing on that now. We're focusing on just connecting and using this as a way to stay together when we're apart. Another thing that you can do with ESL is YouTube videos. So most of our students have smartphones. In the case that they don't, then you can fall back on those lessons I just mentioned. But if we do have access to some kind of internet, we can use YouTube videos. We can use lots of online resources, and I would encourage you to have them focus on Duolingo. If they are members of the library, the Chicago Public Library, there are free resources that I will be pointing out at the end. But there is Mango, is like another kind of Duolingo language app, which is also free to you too. So if you are interested in learning a new language, might as well. So those are some things I would encourage them to do. And encouraging regularity with your tutoring sessions will be important because it just builds in the routine. So we'll focus on those resources at the end. So if we're talking about ABE, a lot of ABE stuff online, a lot of Khan Academy, a lot of GED prep, things like that, that you can reference, and I'll show you some of those. But in the meantime, if we don't have access to those, that's okay. So phone calls are going to be more morale boosters, more checking in, because people that are studying ABE are fluent in English. They don't necessarily need pronunciation practice. If they do, great, practice that. But mostly we're focusing on reading and writing. So we need some text-based activities. So if you're only focused on text, great. Again, we can talk about sentence construction, kind of focus on, send them an incorrect sentence and have them send it back. Working on vocabulary, spelling. That is something you could do over the phone. If you could, you can kind of play Pictionary without pictures. So a game that you could play is, okay, so you use this machine for heating up your food very quickly. It's usually in your kitchen. It has a bunch of buttons, and you push the button and the door opens, and then they say, oh, microwave. You say, great, microwave. Can you spell that for me? So focusing on things you can do in that way. So if you're over the phone, they can write it down and then read what they wrote. They can, it's not a spelling bee necessarily. Spelling out loud is actually really difficult. So having them write it down first and then telling you, and if they don't know, great, then you have an opportunity to learn a new vocabulary word and how to spell it. That would be great for a lower level ABE. There's also the option if you have some higher levels to do some book club stuff, kind of like advanced ESL, reading a book or an article, something that they're interested in, and discussing it together. So you could make it a writing assignment. You can have them write a summary or some of their thoughts, and then you can talk about it together. Some of the activities for ESL could also be applicable to ABE, talking about daily routine, structuring it in a way that focuses on writing and focuses on reading, but also builds it into their life. They have to do these things anyway. One of the cool things is we could talk about is everybody's home, everybody's cooking, whether or not they like to cook before. Now we're cooking. So you can talk about the process of cooking. What is your recipe? You can discuss that, and then once you've had that discussion, have them write their recipe down. And then you might get a great recipe out of it too. But it kind of practices those numbers, and it practices process writing and first and second and transition words like that. Those kinds of things can be good. And then that can also be translated into math. I mentioned at the beginning that we should stay away from tricky subjects right now, like jobs and money and budgets and things like that. Just want to keep it lighter. We can talk about budgets another time, but right now a lot of people are losing jobs and need serious help monetarily. So let's just not worry about that. But there are plenty of things we can count and add. I will share a list of resources about activities related to math that are online, but you can easily translate to any of these formats. Talk about word problems, focusing on words, and I will do a video on doing math for adult learners, a process of focusing on word problems. So I will do that in a separate video talking about math. But you can focus on those things and focus on counting things and adding things that are in your house, talk related to cooking, things like that. So basically with ESL, conversation is a really great way to start. There's reading and writing aspects as well. And then for ABE, we're going to focus more on reading and writing. So the discussion will be added support, but really focusing on texting, emailing, and activities that they can do on their own. You can also, something else that people are doing at home is watching movies and TV shows with their family. So have them discuss a video or a movie or a TV show that they've watched, and then write their thoughts about it. Write what they like and what they didn't like, and they can have a review about a movie, and then you can discuss the grammar that way. So really just taking things that we're doing every day now and building it into lessons. So there's always something to learn. So, and focusing on meeting your student where they are, and really emphasizing that we want to make this normal and not stressful. So if you notice that you'd really like to talk about videos and they really don't want to, don't push it. It's not the time to stress people out. It's time to be comfortable and safe. So focus on those things when you're working with your students. And one more thing that you can do with either your ESL or ABE or citizenship students is talk about the census. I have a whole video where I fill out the census online, so please watch that. If you haven't done so already, please complete your census. Now more than ever, it's very important to talk about the census and do it. We do it every 10 years, but now we really need to know where the people are and what resources we need. If you have any questions about that, please see the video and all the resources that I've posted, but otherwise email me if you still have questions. But go through the census together. It could be an activity. The census, if you have no questions, takes less than 5 minutes to complete. So it could be your whole lesson. You could go through it, practice. If you're screen sharing, that's awesome, of course. If you're doing it on the phone, just kind of support them and explain the process and why it's important, and then share the resources. How do you get language help on the phone or online? A lot of people don't have access to online, but everything's on the phone as well. So please do that. And then I have a lot of I will share a lot of resources about the census, lesson plans and things like that. If you want to work with your ABE students and you've completed the census but maybe want to keep talking about it, there's a lot of activities that you could do. It can also be adapted to ESL classes. There's lots of activities there. So I will share that with you next. So we're here again at the LitWorks website. Again, I've showed this in other videos, but this is how you get in. You'll have to log in to get these things. Here are the videos. And then here are some of our resources. So I mentioned the ESL resources here. There are long lists. You have lots of information about things that you can talk about. Especially as we have teaching techniques, writing, reading, listening, and speaking activities. So you focus on the format that you're looking for, and then you can see some of these ideas that we have. So focus on the format that you're using. If you're using the phone, focus more on speaking, obviously, and then writing, reading, and listening can also be a great way to include that. So that's here on our website, and I'm going to show you a few other things. Khan Academy is a great one that you probably already know about. I really like Khan Academy, but I don't like the idea that it's just give this out and don't talk about it. So I think that use these activities as for ideas. You can focus on the teacher stuff. Create an account. Then you have access to these kinds of things. You can welcome. It kind of shows some of the things that you're talking about. So if we're talking about adults and ABE, we have math, we have early math, we have things like that. So you can kind of focus on those things. There's also all of these arts and humanities. They have ELA, so that's English language arts. So like focusing on those things, reading and vocabulary, but that can easily be translated into whatever you're talking about, and even college growth mindset, careers, things like that. So I recommend using Khan Academy for ideas and not just letting people loose. I think sometimes the videos are great and they're awesome and I use them a lot, but it's not necessarily. I like to have the teacher aspect included. So use these for ideas. If you're able to share this with your student, awesome. If you're not, you can get ideas and materials from here and then bring them to your student from that. So use these lesson plans so you're not reinventing the wheel. At the time of this recording, the Chicago Public Libraries are still open. They are very limited. I believe that there are 20 branches open throughout the city and they're very limited staff-wise. And I recall that you cannot check out books and not return books. You can't really hang out in there. It's more like a community space that they're just making sure is open, kind of like a warming center, a space for people to go if they don't have anywhere else to go. But I don't know how long that will stay open. I know the librarian staff are really calling for them to close, but at the moment, Lori Lightfoot has kept them open. All that to say, we're not meeting in the libraries with our tutors anyway now, so I'm going to focus on what we can do online. The library, if you don't have a library card, please contact me and I will see what we can do to get you these resources because you can't get one right now. But if you do have a library card, even if your student doesn't, there are things that you can do. So this is the homepage of the library, and we're going to log in to access these things. So you'll put in your library card number right by the barcode. And your PIN number that you already made. And so now it'll just bring you here. So what we're going to do is you go to Browse. It's not super intuitive to get here, so I'm just going to show you. So you can check here, check out all the ebooks and magazines that you can do, movies and TV, things that are available online. So we're going to go to online resources. And you pretty much search through here and there's a bunch of questions. So you can download or stream things. Make sure you see those things. We're going to go to areas of interest. You can see language learning. And so we went to areas of interest, and here we have writing assignments, Spanish homework, English as a second language, and there's lots of things. There's lots of apps for that. These are available in the store, in the App Store. And Mango is one of the things I was looking for. I was telling you about. It's similar to Duolingo. You use your library card. You can set up a free account, but it's free, and then it's similar to Duolingo. It's just another way to use it. So there are lots of information about homework help, but there's also a way to do, and then we have Spanish language resources. Sorry, my internet's a little slow. Lots of information about that if we have Spanish speakers. The other thing is we can go to education. And we can see some of these things. These are available. We do have online tutoring options. So if you go to online tutoring, so this homework help was in language learning, and it's also here. And if you go to online tutoring, Brain Fuse, job seekers and adult learners, this is pretty cool. They have a really great website. They have lots of activities that you could do. And I don't know if this program is working at this moment, but I believe it would because people are working from home. You can send in your resume and have people look at it. That was pretty cool. I just learned that at a recent training. And we have all these events going on. I would assume that any live stuff might be halted at this moment, but I could be wrong. But definitely look at some of these activities on here, specifically for adult learners. And then again, I mentioned Khan Academy, but here's another example for that. So the library has a ton of stuff going on. We mentioned doing a book club with ABE or advanced. So you can look at some of the things, the free like audiobooks, and then books that are in ebooks to see if you're able to get those for yourself too, but also for your student to kind of have a book club together. Yeah, so that's the library. And again, let me know if you don't have a library card and want access to these things, and we will figure out something for you. So that is it for lesson planning. If you have more questions, specific questions about your specific situation with your tutor, with your tutee, or you are struggling with some of the platforms, again, check out the Zoom video. I did one on WhatsApp as well, and then I'm going to do one next about Google Hangouts. So those are available. Everybody seems to have WhatsApp, so that seems to be the most accessible way. If you're able to do video conferencing, that would be great, and check out those videos for how to set those up. Otherwise, let me know if you need any support with more materials or ideas, and let me know what you're doing. If you're doing something new and it's working, and so go ahead and share your ideas. You can email me or leave a comment on the video, and we will keep track of all those things and be able to share each other the information. So good luck, enjoy the rest of your day, and see you in the next video.